Okay, guys, welcome back. So, does everyone remember the movie Twister, the original one? I know they did a remake recently. I haven't seen it. The original Twister. I watched it last night for the first time in many, many years with my older children. And I have created a little PowerPoint here. I just wanted to talk about some of the esoteric truth drops. It was really fun to watch it again. And I just wanted to share with you all some of that excitement. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen, PowerPoint. Okay. So, you guys remember these guys? In the movie, they are Bill and Joe. So if you recall, Joe, as a little girl, experiences a level 5 tornado with her family. And she and her mother watch as her father gets sucked up by the tornado. And it's really traumatizing for her. This is a reference to the inner child, the trauma that we experience. We can call it trauma installment programs when we're young. And of course, she goes on a lifelong journey to try to redeem this experience. Her entire life becomes about it. We can also see the reference to masculine and feminine principles and how the masculine principle basically gets sucked out of essentially a storm door. They're in like an underground bunker of sorts, a storm shelter, and he's pulling the door down as hard as he can using all of his strength. But of course, the twister pulls the door up and out and pulls him along with it. And so he gets sucked back up into spirit, if you will, leaving the mother and Joe as a little girl in the world of matter, in this realm, these feminine principles without him. And they also have a dog, which we can see as a reference to God or the inversion of God, mirror world of God that we experience here in this realm. And in the movie, when the movie begins, Joe and Bill are divorcing. He's actually driving to find her to get her to sign the divorce papers, which we can see as a reference to the separation of masculine and feminine principles, left and right brain hemispheres. And at one point, um, sort of the truth comes out about how he feels. She's completely obsessed with trying to find answers, trying to solve the mystery of what happened to her father. What is this? What is a tornado? What is it? The tornado being a metaphor for the realm, for this realm, the chaos of this realm, what happens in this realm, the experiences of this realm. And she's trying to find answers. She doesn't know anything. She wants to know. So she's seeking. She's a scientist. She's constantly seeking. The tornado can represent God. The tornado can represent the divine. And meanwhile, she's so caught up in this seeking and in this retribution, in this redemption fantasy, in this desire, in this need to know, um, that she is unable to stay grounded, to be here now, to connect inside of her relationships. And it's clear in this movie that she loves him and he loves her. However, this quote says it all. You got to move on, stop living in the past, and look what you got right in front of you. So he's pleading with her to see that the masculine principle never really left. It looked like it did when her father was sucked up by this finger of God. Um, but he's always been with her. He's in her. He is within her always. And of course, can be experienced through this relationship, this connection with her soon to be ex-husband, who again, she's about to divorce, but she has not yet actually divorced. She's reluctant to sign the divorce papers. He wanted her to because he wanted to move on with a new woman. He has a fiance who happens to be a therapist. Um, and she's the one that's been reluctant to sign them. So there's a lot of references here to home as well. The beginning scene, it's a total destruction of her home as a little girl, home representing going home, where we come from, our return to source, our return to God, and home as a physical manifestation on an exoteric level of divine source, made up of feminine and masculine principles. And the third force, which is typically a child or children, whatever is born from active and passive forces. And again, represented by physical men and women, masculine and feminine principles, and then the children that are born from that space. So, a ton of references to home, a ton of references to relationships, a ton of references to inner child, a ton of references to trauma, a ton of references to seeking home. And then, of course, what do we have? We have Dorothy. There's even a picture of her. This is the device that they designed and created to send sensors up into the tornado to try to find out what the heck it is. The existential question, like, what is God? Is there a God? I need to understand God. I need to know what constitutes God, how it works. And if you are on the path of awakening, the path of consciousness, this is always a driving force, right? These questions. And in this case, the questioning itself ungrounds the main character, Jo. It ungrounds her. It takes her up and out of this world, which is something that it's a main reason why I'm making this video, because this has been a major theme in my own realm. It's just remembering that we are here, and discernment for when the seeking path can actually take us up and out of the world, and perhaps against anything that we actually think is happening. Like, we won't be aware of it, but it can be taking us into either some sort of obsession, some sort of false light, the cloud, okay, the cloud. And so here we have Dorothy here. Wizard of Oz. I'm sure anyone watching this video is very aware of the myriad of esoteric symbolism that makes up the Wizard of Oz. So I'm not going to go into it, okay? But I can say that the entire movie was kind of like another telling of Dorothy's quest to get back home. This whole movie is about trying to get back home, trying to get back to the union of divine masculine and feminine principles and source. So here we have another example of that. We have, let me get rid of me here. We have the masculine principle over here. We have the feminine principle over here. In the back, we have the reconciling force, Dorothy, with all of the sensors within this mechanism that's going to go up into the tornado and attempt to answer all of their questions, right? This reconciling force, you could see as sort of at the point of the triangle. We could see this as spirit. We could see this as something that together they are creating, the masculine and feminine principles coming together. They created this together. Okay. Next, we have this slide. This one cracks me up. So there is this major emphasis on cows and beef and food throughout the movie. And to me, I saw this emphasis of sustenance and nurturing as having several different layers. First of all, it's sort of like the thing that we can become attached to. It doesn't have to be food. It doesn't have to be beef, right? But it's this very dense matter that we can become attached to. And it provides us with nurturing at the same time. It provides us with sustenance. but how that density of matter can sort of take us out of spirit. It can remove us from spirit. And so balancing all these energies, balancing all of these sort of carnal desires and human needs with the fact that we are spiritual beings. All right. So next we got this fence. So to me, this represents the very weak attempts that we make at keeping others out, protecting ourselves from others, resulting in a lack of connection. A lot of times we do this through behaviors that are fueled by subconscious beliefs, subconscious assumptions, subconscious rules, things that keep us safe. And we can see how rickety this fence is. It's going to get blown apart by the finger of God every single time, right? It's always going to get blown apart. And if you are walking this path sincerely, you have seen this, how any sort of any sort of um belief or fear or trauma installed program that is operating from your subconscious and creating your behaviors in this world, creating your world in any way, it's always getting pointed out to you. And it doesn't really stand anymore. It can't exist anymore. It easily gets pulled up and torn apart so that you are sort of forced to look at yourself. All right. So here we have a reference both to The Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland. This guy's name is Rabbit. Rabbit is good, Rabbit is wise. There's this one scene early in the movie that seems to be kind of like filler, sort of like out of place, like it could have been edited out. There's really no need for it except for maybe some character development or some comic relief. The guy called Rabbit says to Sanders, "Look, all I'm saying is don't fold the maps." Sanders says, "I didn't fold the maps." Rabbit says, "Yeah, well, Kansas is a mess. There's a big crease right through Wichita. Roll the maps." So, of course, this is a reference to Alice in Wonderland and The Wizard of Oz. It's all about the journey home. All right. Here, I included this image because the entire movie is full of traveling vehicles, right? These vehicles end up in all kinds of places. A lot of times they end up making their way through really narrow ditches that become more crevassed, um, more of a chasm as they go. Um, the terrain is treacherous, the perilous path of awakening and seeking. Many occasions they have to go off the main road in order to get closer to the tornado. Um, they will end up having to sort of walk the karmic consequences of that courageous decision to go off the main road, right? And that is one of the themes of seeking and awakening is you end up in places that you will never predict. And sometimes you end up in perilous situations as well. There's a scene closer to the beginning of the movie where they do this. They go off the main road. They're in they're on this dirt path along a cornfield that ends up becoming more of like a ditch. And it's like a chasm at some point, and they end up having to go underneath a bridge and hide under the bridge from the tornado. The tornado comes ripping through. It's almost like the tornado is saying, "You went seeking me, you went looking for me." It's that old saying, if you look into the void looks back, right? And now they're under this bridge and they're holding onto this bridge to protect themselves from being sucked up into the tornado. And the bridge is really rickety to begin with. Somehow it manages, though, to keep them safe enough, which is so often the case on this path as well. And it points to the fact that, we are divinely blessed and protected. And um, this entire game that is this game playing out through the eyes, through our mental holography. And when we really begin to awaken and seek, it's sort of like another level of the game, a next layer to the matrix. And here we have Joe and Bill running from yet another um, destroyed. I believe this was a barn. It might have been a house. There are so many destroyed barns and houses in this movie. Of course, barns pointing to a place where, we store um, things that keep us alive, right? Like it could be some sort of crop. It could be some sort of crop to feed animals. It could be animals, whatever it is. And so often it's actual houses that are torn down, that are just completely, blown apart into smithereens. Um, and of course, this is a metaphor for how we experience our separation from home, the destruction of home, home being source, home being the divine union where masculine, feminine principles are merged, and we create inside of the remembrance of who we are. Um, and of course, they're running, they're about to hold hands here, they're working together now. All right. So now this next slide is a quote from Robin Williams, who played quite a character, didn't he? And he says, "You know the difference between a tornado and divorce in the South? Nothing. Someone is losing a trailer." This is sort of cut off, but that's what it says. Someone is losing a trailer. Um, and so again, we could see the tornado not only as sort of a finger of God, source itself, that the characters are seeking to understand and to go home to connect with again. But we also see it as, here in this realm, something that we experience across the polarity of what source is, as a destructive force, because that creates that labyrinth from the mind to the heart, where we go from the mind back to the heart to come back home again. And so someone is losing a trailer, someone is losing a home, right? And it's just this really sort of like profound, tongue-in-cheek pointing towards um, the energetic spectrum of God as this divine force, and also this destructive force as it is experienced in this realm, simply as an alchemical backdrop to return home, to return to God again. And here we have both of them. I believe this is one of the images for like the trailer or some sort of promotional poster or something, but here they are together. Look at them. Oh my gosh, you guys, life is tough, right? Like they're dirty, they're broken, they're terrified, they're exhilarated, they're not giving up. They are um in some shape or form, they're also enjoying this, right? Because the seeking calls, and to give up it's just not a possibility for them. And you have, of course, in the background, this gigantic freaking tornado. You have the vehicle, which represents the skin suit, the bio vessel. And also back up here as well, I was going to point that out. All the cars, the vehicles, the different kinds of vehicles representing our skin suits, representing the physical body. Okay. And that physical body is carrying Dorothy, carrying the yellow brick road, the seeking for home, and the sensors that can get sucked into the tornado, right? So that we can gather more information, we can gain knowledge, which is so meaningful. It's everything on this path here, using our lives as laboratories and gaining knowledge as we go. But also, again, remembering to stay grounded. Okay, so now here we've got this is like one of my favorite scenes. Um, this is at the end of the movie. This freaking house blows in front of them on the road, right? And they drive through the house. This truck literally drives all the way through the house, of course, comes out intact. That's another thing. I mean, the amount of times when they should have died. And yeah, suspension of disbelief for films, right? It's a movie and they're the protagonists, so they always are going to survive. But it also points to all of the near-death experiences, and you can take that literally and metaphorically, okay, that we have. And not to mention the actual death experiences, the phoenix, where we burn to ashes and rise again and again and again on this path, right? And this is always happening for them. They're constantly, all these deaths and rebirths or near clashes with death. Um, and each time they come out a little changed, a little closer, a little more closer to the truth of who they are, individually and in connection. So this truck they drive through this house, the house, of course, representing home, source, God, the truth of ourselves, and then drives out the other end. And as soon as the truck comes out the other end, the movie score changes. The music actually changes. The entire energy of the film changes. It becomes more peaceful, more serene, more hopeful. The tornado clears. The sun comes out. They made it home. They're on the other side now. Okay. And really the end of the movie is about reconciling all of the different energies that have driven them psychologically, emotionally, spiritually throughout the entire film. And they come back together again. Meanwhile, and I'm going to stop sharing, we have the fiance of Bill, who at some point decides to go home because she's like, this is not my game. This is not my game. And I remember when I watched this movie years and years ago, kind of thinking that she was a bit of a wuss, if you will. It was my own judgment. Watching it this time, I completely understood her. She was self-actualized. She was a therapist. She's on her phone talking to clients. She has meaning. She has purpose. She is strong. It's just this is not her game. She has another game. And after a whole bunch of events, she's like, peace out. And Bill says something to her along the lines of, like, do you want me to bring you home or whatever? And she said, no, I know my own way home. And so that's another reference to home and how, even though we're all here together collectively, playing this whole game together, we also have our own individual games, and that's okay. And so she leaves, and we assume she goes on to create her own beautiful life inside of her individuation, her discernment, her wisdom about what is beneficial to her and her game. And Bill and Joe come together. There's one more thing that I wanted to point out. Um, at some point, so there's like this whole other crew of tornado chasers. If you guys remember this movie, maybe you remember them. They're doing it for the money. They have no intuition. They have no creativity. They have no spidey senses about how to connect to spirit, to God, to source, to this tornado, how to chase it, how to access it, how to sense it, how to know it, how to remember it, how to get home. So they have to follow Bill and Joe. They do whatever they do. They have no spiritual sentience of their own. Okay. And at some point, that whole group pulls up. Oh, and also they're all in it for the money. That's the way that it's portrayed in the movie. Like it's not about science or seeking. It's not about spiritual science. It's all about money. So they have all these corporate sponsors and they're really hokey and cheesy and they got like all the fancy vehicles and everything, like really beautiful, pristine, brand new vehicles and all the fancy equipment. And at one point, that whole group pulls up alongside Bill and Joe as Bill and Joe are driving along. And the one dude says something that pisses off Joe. She gets on her CB radio and she starts lecturing him about something. Bill takes the CB radio from her. This is very important, you guys. Takes the CB radio from her, hangs it up, and says to her, let's keep a clear channel. Let's keep a clear channel. This is a reference to emotional loosh and not having mastery of our energy. Also a reference to all the energies external, both seen in the material world and unseen, surrounding us at all times, that are attempting to hook into our minds, our emotions, our biochemicals, create various biochemicals, and get a rise out of us, get us activated, and no longer is the channel clear. So this is a reference to how important it is to keep a clear channel as we move down the various roads of life in this skin suit vehicle, right? And staying grounded, not allowing others or situations or energies or entities to take us so far out that it's really hard to get back home again. And I know personally, I have not succeeded at this at times. And so then the journey back home is much more perilous and much more difficult and much more challenging when I don't keep a clear channel. Keeping a clear channel means keeping a you channel. You, nothing else, no one else. All right. So, um, I thought about going over a whole bunch of quotes on like there's like this page where you can find the entire movie, like the dialogue in the movie, the script is what I'm looking for. There is so much good stuff in there, you guys, but I'm gonna leave that here for now. I might come back and do a part two, but leave it here. And I hope you guys are having an awesome day. Drop comments below, and I'll talk to you later.